Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on the first podcast for the Optimal Performance Series. My name is Austin Garrett, and I will serve as the moderator for today's podcast. I'm joined today by the three founders of the Optimal Performance Series, Scott Krachunas, Carrie Winfrey, and Ben Higgins. First off on today's agenda, Carrie, for those who might not already know, talk to me a little bit about what is the Optimal Performance Series and the goals of the program.
Yeah, thank you, Austin. So the Optimal Performance Series is a program that basically aims to go beyond just a gym setting. So you can be an athlete that goes into the gym, gets their training in, does what they're doing with their programming, but there's also other elements outside of the gym that you need to be taking care of yourself as an athlete and just as a human being, right? There's a mental aspect that comes with the game. There's healthy habit building. And then there's other areas too, whether that's kind of just developing as a person as well. I know as a young athlete, kind of going through the phases of the different levels, you're kind of developing new leadership, you're developing new personalities, and also just learning a bunch of new things as you're kind of progression through that. So is there a way that we can really kind of tap into that and make our athletes as versatile as possible? And I think that's really just the aim of this program, is to kind of just go beyond just that strength and conditioning, and implement other areas that isn't so much focused on normally in these types of programming. So whether that's through mentorships, these webinars and workshops, which we'll get into a little bit later, personal coaching, sports vision, which is something I'm very excited for Scott to talk about, and then also just continuing on with the skill development of their particular sport. So whether that's football, baseball, and in our case, we're focusing on softball and baseball. So is there a way that we can help them both on the field and off the field in their respective sport?
Great, Carrie. Thank you. Now that we all have a bit more of an understanding of what OPS is and its goals, I'd like each of you to give a brief introduction to everybody watching, as well as provide a little bit of background of your history that's led you here. So we'll start with Scott, and then we'll go to Ben, and then Carrie.
Thanks for having me. So I'm Scott Krachunas. A little bit about me and my background and how that has all shaped who I am and what I do to help contribute to this program. So I have a PhD in physiological psychology, which means I looked at how the environment influenced the body to include and confer to how that influences behavior. I taught at St. Anselm College for 7 years, teaching about like memory, learning, stress management, nutrition, and how, again, it all influences our behavior and who we are. Then I had an opportunity to go back to school for optometry. So I'm also an optometrist. I'm currently practicing in Belmont, New Hampshire. So I have a practice here. And in addition to general optometric services like, contact lenses and glasses, I also do like a lot of the medical optometry. So we look at glaucoma, cataracts, and then your systemic diseases like diabetes and hypertension, and how that influences the vision and the visual system. Also, in my biggest passion is on the sports side. So I have the opportunity to be able to implement my background with the psychology and the neuropsychology to helping people here function visually, but also on the sports side. So we do a lot of concussion management. We do a lot of sports vision training, which I'll get into here in a second. But it all stems from how fast and how well do our eyes and the visual system work. So vision is more than just, can you see a tiny little target? It's how do you process that information coming from the eyes? Because the brain really is an extension of your eyes, or vice versa. Your eyes are an extension of the brain. So if your eyes are slow or your vision is blurry, it doesn't matter how fast your hands are, you're not going to be able to see or hit the ball. So what we work on is improving that visual component, that visual processing, to translate that to gross behavior to be able to hit a ball. But then also because of my history and the stress management and nutrition, where I can bring all that into my patients, I also bring that into the athletes, and we talk a lot about stress management, the importance of sleep, the importance of habit development, nutrition, and how that influences behavior. To help not only my patients but also our athletes develop into better athletes and better students. So that's part of the back. So that's part of my background.
Absolutely. Ben, do you want to touch on your background a little bit?
Yes, absolutely, Austin. Thank you. My name is Ben Higgins, and fitness is my passion. You know, I like to tell people that I have a personal development business that happens to have fitness involved, because one of my greatest passions is seeing people thrive in their own light, seeing what an individual can do in their own capacity that goes well beyond the field. So for me, I started with basketball. That was kind of my rock back in high school. And for me, I saw what work ethic can do, just in athletics alone, but also what that taught me in business and relationships, and growing from there. You know, I think starting with a good baseline of mentors that led me to get to where I am was a big deal. And so I think through this program, that's really what's going to be a cornerstone for us, is giving the right direction and the success path, as we call it at AI, for these athletes, to show them exactly where they are and where they should be, and then bridging the gap between that. So the history lies with businesses that I've done with specific to basketball, off-season training and in-season training, and then working with current athletes of today. And so between the vision that Scott's going to provide, and of course the strength conditioning that we're going to work on here at AI and Epsom, it's going to be a nice, well polished product, just by the history alone that we've been able to have and touch with.
Great, thank you for that, Ben. And then lastly, Carrie.
Yeah, so kind of just to give a little bit of background for myself. So I graduated from Davidson College with an economics degree. There I was able to run track and field, and I wouldn't say that's where my passion for coaching came from, and just fitness in general. I was always a hockey player. When I was younger, I played a ton of different sports, and just like Ben was saying, there's a lot of different developmental aspects of it that I didn't even realize going through it, playing through sports that I was enriched with, which was really cool. And I think just being able to kind of convey that to athletes, just saying, your hard work in this sport can also translate to the game of life as well, right? There's different passions that people have that they want to pursue, and it does take a little bit of work, and also take some guidance. So with that mentorship, are you able to find the correct mentors? Are you able to put yourself in the right position to actually get to that spot you want to be in? But anyways, kind of just leading from Davidson College, I was able to start Onyx Athletics, and that's kind of like where I really started my coaching career, and that was kind of just more on the down low, especially with COVID happening and whatnot. That was just something that was on the side, but anyways, that allowed me to kind of really get into that sphere, and I realized that there's only so much that I know. So being able to partner up with experts like Scott, like Ben, who have been in the industry for 10 plus years, it's just really cool, just the stuff that you can learn, especially with partnering with other people that have the same sort of mindset as you do. Just kind of providing the service that isn't necessarily always provided to young athletes. And I think that's just really important. It's just providing this accessibility for athletes that normally they, at a public school or even just at a local community, they may not normally have access to it. So I think that's just a really important part, is just allowing athletes to get this experience that sometimes even pro athletes are going through, and try to give them kind of that competitive edge as well.
Awesome. Thank you all for that. Moving on, I'd like to open the floor up to a little bit of discussion. So with that being said, I'd like to jump right into our first question, which is, what sets this apart from your typical sports performance programming?
Yeah, I can start with that too. Thanks, Austin. So I think honestly, what separates us is having the emphasis on the vision itself, which what Scott's going to be talking about as well. I think that's a huge separator. But what separates the strength conditioning is the fact that we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. I think the reality is getting back to the basics, as there's so much noise out there in the fitness industry. If you just get back to the basics and start from ground zero, create baseline for these athletes in a non-overwhelming way, they're more likely to adhere to the program. And that's what I found over the last 17 years of working with athletes is the moment that they don't have the direction or the structure to kind of give them that overarching view of saying this is where you are and this is where you could be, without that direction, then they're going to typically fall off. And that's what we don't want. We want to develop that work ethic, that consistency over time. And then from there, with natural progressions, as athletes demonstrate that they can go to a higher level, we're not going to hold them back. We're going to show, hey, this is a next level type of programming custom to what you can do. And I think as we continue to give them that support, that backbone, they're going to enjoy the process that much more, which once again, if you enjoy it, you're more likely to stick to it. So I think honestly, that's what separates the strength conditioning side of things, is that we're going back to the basics and not trying to do anything too special or crazy. And then from there, making it custom to each individual.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. Scott or Carrie, do you have anything you'd like to add to that before we move on?
I'll back to what Ben was saying about getting to the basics. One of the things that I found is that, there's a lot of toys out there. There's a lot of tools that are designed to help improve performance. Oftentimes, though, there's no direction on how to properly utilize it, and then also how to use it to help your progression. So one of the most basic items is vision. And obviously I'm kind of biased because that's what I do. But, if you can't see a small little target, when you look at the science behind trying to hit a major league fastball, where you have 7 millisecond window of opportunity to physically hit it, if your visual acuity is off just a little bit, that means that in order for you to actually see it, the ball's got to get closer to you. You don't have that time to react. So the sooner you can see that ball, the sooner you can process the information of, okay, I saw a curveball grip. It's a right-handed pitcher. I'm a right-handed hitter. I know that ball is going to start high, drop low. That's where I'm going to be aiming in, less than 1/10 of a millisecond. So just the science behind what it takes to perform is amazing. So to be able to contribute to that is what's going to be separating us from anybody else out there, with our backgrounds in being able to look and watch an athlete where they start, and then progressing, and then helping them reward that behavior so that they want to continue to do that, and to give them the good habits, and then make it more difficult, more complex, and then have them succeed at that. I think that's going to be the one of the biggest benefits of what we can provide. Also, by bringing in, I'm a science guy. I like science. I like data. And I think it's important to be able to demonstrate that, okay, this is where I started. Okay. And now we have metrics to actually physically touch to say, okay, after doing this, this is how I've physically changed and improved. And this also translates to the field and in the classroom. We're seeing a lot of correlation between kids that may have a hard time reading in the classroom, while they may have a hard time tracking a ball as well. So not only can we help them track a ball and hit better, but we can also help in the classroom, which I think is another huge game-changing component to this program, is that's going to help develop them all around.
Great. Thank you, Scott. It certainly seems like a unique opportunity and one that will be around for a long time moving forward. Speaking of the future, that kind of leads me into my second question for all of you, which is, what is the direction you see this program going?
Yeah, I can kind of take this one over, and kind of even just to add to that previous point, I think the culmination of all of our backgrounds really sets us apart from different programs. And I see the direction of this programming in just bringing in more collaboration with different industry experts. So for instance, we have the workshops and the webinars, and really the purpose of that is to, like I said, go beyond the gym and kind of teach aspects just in life in general. So for myself, like I mentioned before, I'm an economics major, so that's a whole different perspective that I can kind of bring into this. If we're looking even just at the dimensions of health and a healthy lifestyle, financial literacy and financial health is one of those points. And is there a way where I can kind of bring in my expertise and just really convey that during these webinars to young athletes? And yeah, just seeing the direction of this kind of, I see it growing with just more industry experts being able to kind of contribute into this. So Scott with his background in sports vision, Ben with his background in strength and conditioning, is there a way where we can kind of continue to provide value added services to this programming?
Great. Thank you for that, Carrie. Scott or Ben, is there anything else you guys would like to add to that?
Yeah, Carrie, thank you so much. I think honestly, with Carrie and the logistics of this, and Scott's genius when it comes to the vision aspect, and then my background here, I think we really have the ability to adapt and see what these athletes truly need, because a lot of it is basically taking what we receive from the needs of our current athletes of today, and then from there putting out like a better and continuously like polished product every month that goes by. So I think we have the ability to continue to, I guess, change colors as the seasons go and give these athletes what they truly need.
I really think it's the missing link on helping these younger athletes make it to the next step. You know, at the pro level, all those pros, they're doing these kinds of programmings anyways. Why do you have to wait to get to that level to get access to it? That's what my goal has always been, is to bring it down to this level to help the kids take that next step forward.
Certainly a bright future ahead, not only for the program, but also for the athletes as well. The last question I have for all of you is, what are the biggest challenges you guys faced with creating such a program?
I think one of the biggest challenges is just trying not to overwhelm the athlete. Obviously, we're trying to be this sort of program that goes beyond just a gym, but how do we do that without throwing too much at the athlete? And I think that's just a delicate balance that we are finding kind of going through this. Even just going through the assessments, is that kind of condensed enough where we're hitting all the metrics that are relevant to that athlete and what they are specifically looking for, rather than just throwing in a bunch of random stuff that isn't necessarily pertaining to what they want to achieve. So just being able to kind of find that balance and also just make this programming personalized as well, right? Every athlete is at a different level, whether if they're in high school or if they're in middle school, everyone's starting from their own different baseline. So are we able to kind of provide them, okay, this is where you are and this is how you get to where you want to be? So do we have this kind of step-by-step progression for them to follow, and really just see themselves move closer and closer to that goal that they really want to get to?
Yeah, I think what's fascinating, thanks, Carrie. I think what's fascinating is seeing somebody like, as we're going to be giving and putting the power into these athletes' hands, you know, giving them tangible, like things that they can hold in their hands and say, okay, I didn't have this before. Like, this isn't just it's like we said, we're going back to the basics, but we're not basic in the sense of it is pretty sophisticated. What we do it here at Athletic Instinct is we have what's called AI Pro. And I think showing these athletes like the beginning stages all the way to where they can be at the end of their tenure here, and also working with like-minded athletes, like how important is that to not just be with one specific team, but also athletes from all over who have the same wants and needs. That's also going to give that winning environment, that winning culture to these people that they want to continue the rest of their lives. So I think just the shell inside the gym and then the outer shell of life, I think it's really going to help translate for them as they continue to grow from middle school all the way to high school.
Absolutely. Also think being able to blend the best of what we've learned on training and to bring it all together, I think is what's exciting. But it's also can be challenging because now we're not creating the wheel, we're just adding to it. But there could be resistance from coaches, from parents, from students. This is a lot different than what I'm used to. But that's what's going to make them better, is to take that next step and to incorporate all these different experiences and systems that we have available. That's going to, like I said, it's the missing link. It's going to help push and guide a lot of these students to the next step.
Would you guys think that the path to success is linear?
Yeah.
Not at all.
Absolutely not.
Not at all, right? Like you get to the finish line in many, many different ways. And so I think having the structure is really good, but also showing the fact that you can thrive in 2 months or 6 months or whatever, there's no pressure, but here's like an average timeline of where you can take this, because success is not linear. And so we have the opportunity to show them.
Things change. Personalities, physically, people are changing.
No doubt.
Yeah, and they're getting longer, taller. So you still got to, relearn how to walk. Some of these, we watch our kids grow and they'll grow like 6 inches overnight. Well, they've got to figure out how to learn to walk again. Right. So, and then you've got the mental aspect of it and pressures at home, pressures at school to try to succeed and impress people. Today's athlete is constantly changing, and to be able to help them adjust to that and to grapple with those changes, training can't be linear. It's got to be adaptive.
For sure.
I think at the end of the day, if we're able to make the most versatile athlete that can kind of succeed in all aspects of life, that's going to be the best kind of point that we move forward with there.
And to have it hold.
Yes.
There's Austin, you can attest to this. Through the training with me, and a lot of your numbers held even after 5 or 6 years. So, because it's brain training, we're developing these new patterns, these new habits that will help the athletes succeed and to go up against better athletes and help them succeed against these better athletes. So they're constantly growing and having to adapt. So that's the exciting thing. That's what I enjoy watching the athlete get better.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for your answers. That concludes the first podcast for the Optimal Performance Series. Make sure to check out all of our other social media accounts, as well as the Optimal Performance Series website, which will be linked in the description down below. Thank you all for joining us, and we hope to see you on this journey as we move forward with the Optimal Performance Series. Thank you.